This is the most terrifying incident in my life, which happened a few years ago. I have a son and a wife, and they're my entire world. That day, I was frightened that something would happen to them. It was Christmas time. My wife used to have a friend called Sarah. Her husband was all right. We only hung out when our wives did. They also had a son, and our kids played together whilst we chilled. Sarah invited us for Christmas dinner, but her husband was working that night, so it would be just me, my wife Sarah, and our boys. We accepted, but it surprised me that she'd host when her husband wasn't there. So we arrived at Sarah's, and it was fine to begin with. We chatted and ate delicious food. Sarah looked dodgy, like she was on edge, but I assumed it was due to having a hectic day. As we were eating, I could hear creaking. It was coming from upstairs. Nobody else was supposed to be here, so I mentioned it to Sarah. She just said, "It's an old house, unfortunately. It's always creaking." It happened a couple more times, and it sounded like footsteps as well. I ignored it. The boys went upstairs and played whilst we all had some drinks. An hour passed, and I noticed it was getting on. I was about to ask if we were ready to go when suddenly we could hear someone screaming upstairs. We were freaking out, but Sarah wasn't bothered. That scream, it was my son. Running upstairs, it was very dark. There were no lights on. He wasn't screaming anymore, and I didn't know where he was. I shouted, "Where are you, baby?" No answer. Panicking now, I checked various rooms. I couldn't find him. I saw a little bit of light underneath a door. I threw the door open, and I couldn't believe my eyes. My son was on the floor, with some big man dressed like Santa standing over him. He didn't have trousers on though, just boxers. What the hell is happening? He looked straight at me for a moment, and then lunges. I grabbed my son and ran. I said, "What happened?" We got our stuff, and I asked Sarah what she was playing at. Why did she lie that her husband was working if he was upstairs? She grinned at me in a sinister way, and we were freaked out. We immediately left the house and drove home, my boy crying all the way from shock. Me and my wife were too, to be honest, as we knew Sarah and her husband very well, and my wife had been friends with them for years. It completely disturbed me that she lied, and acted on edge, and lied about the creaking. We never spoke to either of them again.